Hello, today I will be speaking about the upper-lower split. I want to start off by saying that the upper-lower split is not magical and it's not something that if you don't do, you're going to be missing out a lot. Technically, this split is just another way of organizing your work in the gym, but if done properly, it can make a difference for your gains. So, what exactly is an upper-lower split? As the name suggests, it's basically doing upper body exercise on some days and lower body movements on other days. The most common way of implementing this type of split is doing upper lower twice a week, which works great for beginners and intermediates. Another way of going about this is doing upper lower, upper lower, upper, because the upper body can handle more volume and is easier to recover from due to lower CNS fatigue. Also, you can do upper lower 3 times a week, in which basically every day will target a specific muscle. So for example, lower 1 will be quads, lower 2 glutes, lower 3 hamstrings. And of course doing some accessory exercises for the non-specifically targeted muscles of the day. Doing upper lower 3 times a week is good for frequency of training, but it mainly depends on how much time you can dedicate to working out and how many days you want and need to train in order to make progress. I think it works better than full body because you're able to focus more and establish a better connection with your workout instead of doing everything in the same workout as you would normally if you were to do full body. I like doing upper lower twice a week because I can focus on my 4 main movements on 4 separate days, and I can adjust the frequency per muscle group very easily that way. So I will be describing this split from the point of view of someone that wants to get strong and develop muscle mass, and it will be based on main compound movements. And since exercise selection is probably one of the most important things you can do, I will be talking quite a bit about different exercises you can choose from. So starting off with the upper body workout. So with upper body, you want to have 1 to 2 exercises per movement pattern per week. Those would be push, press, pull, and row. So some examples for the pushing movement will be barbell bench press, incline barbell bench press, dumbbell flat bench, dumbbell incline bench, and dips if your shoulders can handle them, or even decline variations of the press. My personal favorite is the regular barbell bench press because I mainly do it for strength gains, and I actually plan on reaching the 315 bench milestone. I will be talking about how I plan on doing this in a different video. So my favorite pushing exercise for hypertrophy would be the incline dumbbell press, because I can get a deep stretch at the bottom and it's a safe movement to go to failure on, because if you fail, you just lower the weights down and that's it. There's no barbell crushing you if you don't have safety pins. Regarding the pressing exercises, you can do barbell overhead press, dumbbell overhead press, Z-press. Z-press is good if you're training at home and just have a barbell and some plates. You can do behind the neck press, seated dumbbell and barbell press, push press. It depends on your goal. So basically any pressing variations that you like. My favorite one is the standing barbell overhead press because it has the most carryover to strongman training, which I plan on starting when I'll have a dedicated space for this. In terms of hypertrophy, I think the seated barbell overhead press with a 75 to 80% bench angle is one of the best. You might have seen this variation at Alpha Destiny's channel. He does them a lot. As for pulling variations, you can choose from a wide variety of exercises like pull-ups, chin-ups, lat pull-downs. Lat pull-downs will not replace pull-ups, but they're a good addition to them. You can do neutral grip pull-downs, overhand or underhand variations, weighted pull-ups, and so on. By far, my favorite and the one that I had the most progress with are the pull-ups and the weighted pull-ups, because honestly, nothing gets my lats as sore as weighted pull-ups, because the stretch in the bottom position is crazy. And for some rowing movements, you can do barbell row, dumbbell row, T-bar row, pendlay row, chest supported dumbbell row, inverted row, cable rows, machine rows, seal rows, so on and so forth. All of those variations are excellent choices, but if you're in a hurry and want to get the most out of your rows, the best bang for your buck are probably barbell rows. I've been a big fan of those for a very long time because besides the muscle building capabilities, they've helped me a lot with my posture in general and also learning how to retract my scapula better for bench pressing. Now, for what are, in my opinion, the best arms and abs exercises, we can choose from a multitude of exercises, such as starting with the biceps. I like straight bar curls, if your wrist can handle it, of course. If not, just use a regular easy bar. Preacher curls, seated behind the back curls. These are very strict and they will humble you for sure. Dumbbell curls, hammer curls. Yes, you need to do hammer curls. Despite what you hear now on the internet from some famous YouTubers, they will most likely enhance your brachialis, which will improve your forearms and give them a more complete and full look, besides also improving your grip strength. As forearms go, I suggest doing supinated barbell or dumbbell wrist curls, like in arm wrestling style. Pronated barbell or dumbbell wrist curls, behind the back barbell wrist curls. You can do the rice in a bucket, Chinese method. You can use grippers to improve your crushing strength. For the triceps, you can do dual rope tricep extensions. I really like those. I've started doing them recently. I got those from the legendary John Meadows. They're excellent for targeting the long head of the triceps. You can do regular tricep push downs, close grip bench press, dumbbell or barbell skull crushers, cable overhead tricep extensions, and even dips. Some of the best ab exercises are those that allow you to overload the muscles the same way you would do with any other muscles. The secret, so to speak, to training abs is maintaining lumbar flexion as much as possible to properly target the abs and take some of the stress from the lower back. The ones that I tried myself and saw good results are hanging leg raises. This is by far my favorite. Loaded sit-ups, ab prayers, decline sit-ups, decline leg raises on a bench with the controlled eccentric. Other great exercises that deserve mentioning can be dumbbell chest flies, neck curls, face pulls, cable lat prayers, one arm cable pull down, shoulder lateral raises, posterior delt flies, upright rows, and cable lateral raises. So the way you set this up is to alternate between the movements so that you don't get too fatigued as you normally would if you were to do, let's say, 2 pushing movements or a pushing movement followed by a pressing movement. So for example, on upper one, you can start with your main pushing exercise, then either a pulling or a rowing movement, then a pressing exercise, then followed by abs and arm work. Upper two can look something like this. You will do your main pressing exercise. Then if you did a pulling movement on upper one, you will do a rowing movement, or the opposite. If you did a rowing movement, you will now do a pulling movement. Afterwards, you can do a pushing exercise followed by arm work, shoulders, forearms, wherever you feel like you need more of. How many sets should you do? The answer is it depends, of course. Something you can do to get you started is incorporating 3 sets for your main movement for strength gains, and maybe you can do some back off sets, or even 2 sets I think are good for the beginning. Around 2 to 5 sets for your pulling and rowing movement, 3 to 4 sets for your secondary movement of the day. For abs, I think 3 sets is sufficient, and 6 sets for arms in total, so 3 for the biceps and 3 for the triceps. Keep in mind, these are just some general considerations. The volume can be much higher than this or much lower, and I will be making a separate video regarding total weekly volume. Alright, now lower body time. For lower body, the main movement patterns are hinging, and I suggest doing 1 to 2 movements. Squat, again 1 to 2 movements, and 1 unilateral movement. We'll discuss about this the same as for upper body, which is strength and mass. So starting off with the hinge movements, the most popular and probably the best hinging movement is the deadlift. Whether you do it conventionally or sumo, it's up to your personal preference and your leverages. You can deadlift with a pause to improve the initial part of the movement and maintain good position. You can deadlift from blocks to improve your lockout and build a huge back. I've recently started doing block pulls and my upper back is sore 24/7. I suggest doing those no higher than 4 inches or mid shins, and especially I recommend them to people with bad deadlift leverages like me. Raising the bar just a bit off the ground can get you in a position of strength, and the stimulus to fatigue is much better than regular conventional deadlifts because you're not pulling completely from the floor. The carryover to deadlift is huge, and it spares your lower back if you have to bend down a lot to reach the bar due to short arms, for example. And also if you have a long torso, things get even worse because it's harder to maintain good position. You can do below the knee rack pulls. These are a bit different than block pulls because you don't have to take off the slack from the bar, but it's pretty much the same movement. Choose one of them and you're good to go. I wouldn't suggest doing above the knee block pulls or rack pulls since it's very easy to cheat and use a ton of weight by just shifting your hips forward and sliding the bar up. They're pretty good. They can improve your grip. They will definitely build your traps and your spinal erectors. Other exercises you can do are deficit deadlifts to improve your range of motion. You can do stiff-legged deadlifts or dumbbell Romanian deadlifts. Another hinging movement that I like a lot are the Romanian deadlifts. These are the ones that I do most regularly. They're great for developing your hamstrings and just focus on the hinging pattern. I don't know about you guys, but these always get me sore like crazy. So another amazing stimulus to fatigue exercise is the good morning, because having the bar higher on your back will create a different leverage and you won't be able to use that much weight you would by doing Romanian deadlifts, for example. But they are excellent for your glutes and spinal erectors, and it has a big carryover to deadlifts. Back extensions, also great exercise. They've helped me deadlift 410. I used to load them pretty heavily and do around 8 to 10 reps, so I highly suggest them. They will keep your lower back and glutes working very hard. One way to get good work for your hinges is doing hip thrusts due to low spine stress. The same way I like doing Romanian deadlifts for the stretch, I like doing leg curls for the isolation of the hamstrings to get full development. That's about it for the hinge. As for the squatting movement, you can do a regular high bar back squat. If your ankle mobility allows you to squat low, go for it. If not, you can use some heel elevations and further improve knee flexion and stay more upright. This will switch the emphasis more on the quads. Or another way of achieving deep knee flexion and staying very upright can be obtained by doing front squats and Zercher squats. If you prefer doing a low bar squat, this will be targeting more hips and hamstrings. It all depends on which variation you like more and feel the best for you. That's very important. It needs to feel best for you. Another way of squatting that I haven't done much, but I know it allows you to overload your squat, is doing box squats. Guys from the west side do it and they have a great success with it. One of my favorite ways to get into a deep squat and overload the quads is doing squats on a slant board. On those, you need to be focusing on the eccentric, and if you like, you can add a pause down there. Strength-wise, doing pause squats will work great because it takes away the stretch reflex. You can do pin squats, or they are another great variation for improving getting up from the hole. Whenever someone had trouble doing a regular barbell squat, I would teach them the movement pattern using the goblet squat and sometimes using heel elevation for people with not so good ankle mobility. Also, I had great success with. With this, I found they were able to keep an upright back and not lose balance. They were able to focus on their quads a lot more. For myself, I found great success doing sissy squats since I don't have a leg extension machine at home. If you have knee pain, doing them, just use elevations to reduce range of motion and slowly remove it in time, step by step, while building your tendon resilience. As for the unilateral movement, you can do Bulgarian split squats. Everybody hates those. I really like them. They're very painful, but they're worth it. You can do lunges with dumbbells or barbells. You can do step-ups and so on. For calves, I suggest doing a standing one-leg calf raise using dumbbells. And when you get stronger, you can use Smith machine, as it allows you to be more stable and add more weight. Other great exercises that deserve mentioning are reverse Nordics. If you're working out at home and don't have a leg extension machine, this is a solution maybe for you. Nordic curls. This is also a very good knee proofing exercise to improve your athleticism. You can do pistol squats if you're working out at home. It's a very good exercise as well. It's not very beginner friendly, but you can handle it with some support. The way you would set up the lower body can be by alternating between a squatting and a hinging movement as your main strength exercise and having an easier variation of the main move. Plus, you can add a unilateral movement to balance things out and a calf movement. So for example, in lower one, you can do a main squat movement followed by a different variation of a hinge, then doing some isolation work for the quads and hamstrings and adding an ab exercise. Lower two can look something like this. So if you did a squat variation in lower one as your first exercise, now you can start by doing a main hinge movement followed by a different squat variation and a unilateral movement and finishing up with calf raises. The number of sets for lower body can look something like this. 3 to 5 sets for the main movement of the day, depending on your strength progression scheme, followed by 3 to 5 sets for your secondary movement, 3 sets for the unilateral movement, 3 sets for the hinging accessory, and 3 sets for calves. Before I forget, one important factor to consider is that if you did squats on lower one for, let's say, 5 to 7 reps, you can do your second squat movement for 10 to 12 reps, for example, so that you train in a wider variety of rep ranges. This way you will build strength and muscle mass on a bigger spectrum and prevent overuse injuries. This is to be applied for all main movements and their variations. I suggest doing, for example, bench press on I don't suggest doing bench press on upper one and then doing bench press again on upper two, and especially not for the same rep range, because you simply need more variation in your training. Right, so the disadvantages of doing the upper-lower split. I think the main point would be, if you're a busy person, doing an upper-lower split can take a pretty long time to finish, since you're doing everything for upper body and everything for the lower body. Another disadvantage would be that the lower body recovery can suffer a bit. The advantages of the upper-lower split: the frequency of training is pretty high and you get a lot of practice of your favorite exercises. For me, I noticed that this way I am able to focus the best on specific strength movements for each day and thus getting maximum efficiency. Intensity can be maximized because of the low volume per session per muscle group. I feel like with this split, I have the most amount of freedom to adjust my workouts to be exactly how I want them to be, and I also don't have to be 6 days in the gym. It's no problem being 6 days in the gym if your time and your split allows you to. In my opinion, you should be trying it out, see how it works for you, maybe add another day, maybe add 2 days. Alright, that would be it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments if you're interested about a specific topic. Who knows, I might make a video about it. Thanks and bye bye.